Caddis Maximus here, this time with just a quick 5-minute review of the Harbor Freight Quinn 13-inch compound joint needle nose extended reach pliers. I had done those reviews of the needle nose pliers, which some people could say are long nose side cutters. It's really just the discrepancy of names and tools sometimes gets a little ridiculous when people are, they're called this specific thing when people know them as something else. And I actually looked up on the Wikipedia page, and all the different names that people use for needle nose pliers, long nose side cutters, all address the same tool. So it's kind of apples to apples. These are straight needle nose pliers because they don't have any cutters in them, and I can understand why they do that because this design isn't quite as robust as a single joint design. And the idea with these is that you have really nice long reach needle nose pliers. And I did go and pick these up today because when I was doing that review I realized I didn't have any long reach needle nose pliers, so I needed some. But I use those primarily when I'm trying to reach or get at something that's really in a, like a nut or a bolt that's fallen somewhere, or something that's in a tight space, say with electronics. And so I like these because they give you a little bit more reach and access down in a tight spot. The problem with the single pivot design, obviously, is when you open it up and you have long handles, those handles are going to be way out here. What this does is sacrifice just a little bit of leverage so that you can have a much more compact action. These handles don't move the same distance as if they were just pivoted up here. And really how these are is they're literally like two sets of pliers put together. You have one set of pliers where the ends are now just riveted to the back of another set of pliers, and so you go from one pivot to 4 pivots. One thing I was going to mention looking through these is they're actually pretty solid. There isn't any wobbling. They were a bit tight and I just had to oil the joints. Another thing I was going to mention was surprisingly the tips really match up. For a Harbor Freight tool that was $12, these match up pretty nice, and as we can see they have a fair amount of rigidity. Anything, exactly what I'd expect for 12 bucks. Harbor Freight calls these compound pliers, are also known as double joint pliers. Now, as far as giving you extra gripping force, that's kind of a fallacy. This area here isn't helping you get any more leverage. The final leverage ratio would be the difference of handle length to this pivot. I.e., if we have 9-inch handles here, that would essentially be 9-inch handles against whatever this is, 4-inch tips. This center section isn't actually giving you much of an additional leverage, if any additional leverage ratio. As far as I understand, it's doing this section here, all it's doing is reducing handle swing. It's not giving you any more mechanical advantage. Now, a couple things to note is obviously if there's stuff that gets jammed in the center section, they won't close all the way, and so that's something to be aware of. But one nice thing, and I wanted to show that through the camera here, is I was a little worried as these wear out, what happens when this middle part starts hitting together? Do they just not close anymore? And what I thought was nice about these Harbor Freights is we can see the light through there. They actually smartly included an extra gap in this center section so that you had less likelihood of when the tips wear out that you'd still be able to close them fully. And I actually thought that was a pretty intelligent design. And so the real reason I went with these specifically is because of their high access. We have something like this, and let's say we have a fairly large nut, and you're trying to use the magnet tool, but you just can't quite get it out. Usually a magnet tool would be able to get something like that out. If it was a stainless steel nut, then a magnet tool wouldn't be getting it out. And then those claw things are sometimes difficult, especially with its larger fasteners. So if we had something like this that had fallen, down into a very small orifice, a standard set of needle nose, you just wouldn't have been able to get at it because the handles would hit the wall of the small orifice that you're trying to, or area that you're trying to reach, and then you just wouldn't be able to get the jaws open far enough to actually grip what you want to grip because the handles end up bumping into that. So this center section actually makes all the difference. So if we have a bolt that's down in a tight area, this center section makes it really nice. We can reach down in there, grab that fastener, and pull it right on out of areas that basically no other type of long reach plier could access. And so that's really what I had got these for, and just wanted to mention that for $12 they're really not that bad, especially for a complicated plier design. Obviously these aren't made to take quite as much abuse or quite as high a torque just because you have just such long handles. And really, the weak spot isn't going to be these center pivots because they're pretty large. It's going to be these smaller side pivots are the ones that are going to give you trouble. And so that's just something I would keep in mind is when you're using these, try to avoid, the most abusive situations. And then they'll probably last quite a long time. And I'm sure in many situations to save a lot of hassle, particularly like with hose clamps and automotive with those spring clips. These type of pliers could be real nice because you can still operate them with one hand and then get a nice long reach to get at those spring clips would be one example. Anyway, that was just a quick little bonus review. And since I just got these, I wanted to put that out there. Anyway, let me give you a quick close-up look. I guess I didn't do a nice zoom look here. Here's a nice zoom. We can actually see that the teeth are pretty well cut. They actually have nice broaching. The grinding is pretty even. It's actually pretty good. You can see a little bit off there. The hand grinding, you can really see here where they just took the whole side of the tool and put it against the belt. So there's a little bit, you can see that highlights some low spots. But, I mean, this is a Harbor Freight tool that costs $12 where the channel locks are. Many other manufacturers like Channel Lock do have pliers that are double joint or compound joint like this, but they're $25, $30. They're twice as much money as the Harbor Freight. And they're definitely higher quality, but for this type of plier, which is not one that you would maybe use just in and out on a daily basis, I can certainly recommend them. And the Harbor Freight Quinn, Harbor Freight's a huge company now. They have 800 stores, so they're not the Harbor Freight of the 1990s. And it's obvious they're using their purchase power to command, if they have 800 stores, then they're probably buying 5,000 pairs of these pliers, and so that's a huge amount of purchasing power to say we're going to offer you tens of thousands of dollars to buy a huge pallet loads of certain pliers, and we want them to be a particular quality. And what they're kind of learning too is more decent tools not only give you more customer satisfaction, but you have a lower return ratio. The problem with returns, even with cheap tools, is you still have to play the employees' time to deal with the customers returning them and then dealing with the broken tools. And when it's really cheap tools, it quickly becomes labor costs quickly outstrip the cost of the tool. And so in that situation, it actually makes more business sense to have a higher quality tool because you actually save money with less returns. Anyway, that was just a quick review of the Harbor Freight Quinn compound joint long reach needle nose pliers. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe. Catus Maximus out.